Hello everyone, welcome back to the Shopstead. I've got a fun little video here today. I got a couple of keyed shafts I got to make. I got about 200 feet of keying here. There's 10 20-foot long shafts, so let's get set up and get to it. It's an emergency job. Well, before I get to machining, I gotta refuel the generator. So you might be wondering why I don't get fuel delivered. That's a 300-gallon tank. The minimum is 500 gallons for delivery. Anything below that, and they charge you quite a bit, and it just makes it cost prohibitive. So I just use this barrel, transport some fuel over. A lot better system. It's the next day on this keyed shaft job. I opted to get a good night's rest instead of working through the night. I got this job, it was delivered Monday night. I had to do some work for a local farmer the next day, but it needs to be back by the end of the day on Thursday. So I've got a little bit of time. It's now Wednesday morning, so I spent Tuesday working for a farmer and getting all of the things I needed for this job. Let me start up the generator and we'll get everything finally set up to run all this keyed shaft. It's 5:30. See how it starts in the cold. You can hear the other generator going. That's just the little generator for house power. But see how this one starts. Oh yeah! Over here at the Kearney and Trucker Mill now, getting things set up. Got a bar here that I'm going to use as kind of a step block, if you will. This bar is going to be over in the furthest T-slot, and I'll just clamp over the two bars to clamp the workpiece in. This is only in the this slot here just to start mocking things up. I'll use an arbor and a wheel cutter for this job, but I'm not going to use a full arbor. I'm going to use an end mill holder, and I'm going to cut the end of this arbor off and use the end of this arbor in that end mill holder to hold the cutter, so I don't have a support out at the end, and makes just the job go by easier. This arbor is already chewed up and bent, so I'm not worried about cutting the end of it off. It's already been modified with an extra keyway in it. The other keyway in it has been damaged, so I'm just going to cut the end of it off and use it for my cutter. Well, I started getting set it up. Made a first cut to verify with the keyways in center. I touched off on this bar. It's 1 7/16 just like this one. So I touched off and moved over. It's 906 thousandths, something like that, 900 something thousandths. You have to move over, and then to verify that I'm in the center, a very crude way is to make a cut just deep enough to get kind of a wall on both sides and put something straight across. And if it's parallel to the table, then it's straight. And the camera angle is a bit weird, but this one is pretty parallel. So on the Comet, I've just got the 246 block. I put another stud in here just to keep it from moving, and then I've got a chunk of angle iron bolted in to the tool post and a 2x4 wedged in. I'm going to raise the 2x4 up about a ½ inch. I think that's how much I need to get this up to the proper height. And then once I start feeding it all the way through, I'll set the two roller stands up and get those to the right height. So let's get to work. I'll bring you back after I've keyed a couple shafts. Well, I'm a couple shafts in. I've got 3 of them done, 1 of them almost done. I had to swap from this cutter to the smaller one because this one was reground at some point, and it's 5/16 wide instead of 3/8, even though it's labeled as 3/8. This one's cutting really nicely. I found my sweet spot with horizontal milling keyed shaft like this. You're not taking a very deep cut. You're half the width, which is a really good, you can go really fast, basically. You can go as fast as the cutter allows you to in the machine. And in this case, with what I've got, I'm running at 119 RPM at 15 3/4 inches a minute. I was really hoping to get up to 20 inches a minute, but that's just a bit too fast. If I had the inserts for this 3/8 inch wide carbide insert slotting cutter and a arbor for it, then I would be able to run, well, I've used that style to go 90 inches a minute at 1000 RPM, and that was with a 6-inch diameter insert holder, or a 6-inch diameter cutter. So I definitely need to get some more of those. Keyed shaft is a fairly common product around here, so I need to get those inserts too. But right now 119 and 15 3/4, it's getting it done all right. This is I'm transitioning from one bar to the next. I've staged 4 clamps. This clamp and this clamp are the ones that I'm typically using. I only use the ones on the very end for when I'm going from one bar to the next. I've kind of been staging bars and staging material, clamps, etc., so I can be as fast as possible. Now I need to go out and bring in the other 5 bars, but I've used these 2 sections of wood to set the bars on. Normally I'd have another bar next to this one. It's just sitting there. I get it up there while I'm waiting for the machine to finish cutting. I try to do a lot of work in between cuts, or as the machine is cutting. So I can't go outside and bring in bars while it's cutting, but I can use the shop vac. I can vacuum up chips. I can reposition bars. I can deburr, although not in this setup. I can't really deburr with this setup. I'm going to do all the deburring in one operation. I'll show you guys that later, how I'm going to do that. It's just got to be as efficient as you can with a job like this. I can do 2 feet at a time, so that's approximately 100 cycles, 100 times that I have to clamp and move the bar, not including the time, or not including having to do this here, which takes a little bit of extra time to set this up. There's 100 cycles, and it's taking me about 2.5 minutes per cycle. So that comes out to about 4 hours just in cutting. And if I can cut that down a little bit, then I will. I'll do everything I can to cut that number down, the cycle time. I've got 2 wrenches on either side, so I don't have to swap the wrench around. Running the cutter as fast as I can, etc., etc. So let's finish them out and we'll get on to cleaning them and deburring. And another thing before we get to deburring, there's no reason to when you make a cut to stop and traverse back and then undo all your clamps and then move the bar. I get to the end of a cut, we're still kind of in between the 2 bars here. I get to the end of a cut, I loosen all my clamps, I grab onto the bar, and I rapid the thing back. Gotta use my hip for the rapids, but you get the idea. It's a lot faster than getting to the end of a cut, stopping, you know, going back while the cutter's spinning, of course, and then stopping, undoing your clamps and moving everything. It's faster to just cut, undo the clamps, grab the bar, rapid the table under the bar, clamp her back down, and keep going. There's no reason to move the bar back and forth twice. The bar should only be moving in one direction. Alright, I've started deburring them. I'm gonna do 5 at a time. I got 5 of them done. I'm deburring them. And the way I'm doing it, of course, I've got a 20-foot length, so I set it up so I can access all 20 feet. And I try to use something like this angle grinder or these deburr tools, something that I can just run along the entire length, where I can sit there with like this guy here and just kind of walk all along. Now, of course, this milling machine spindle's kind of in the way, but walk along the whole length of it and deburr it. And I don't try to chamfer it, I just try to make it not sharp. I'll just sit there and run my finger along the whole length and make sure nothing catches, it doesn't cut me. If it cuts me, it cuts the customer. I'd rather have it cut me than cut the customer. So I try to avoid files for anything but the very end, because files, it's a back and forth action. You got to clear the chips, and it's just not great. With an angle grinder, you don't have to worry about that, and with deburr tools, you don't really have to worry about that. Sometimes if you get into heavier burrs, you have to go back and forth, but if you got a heavy enough burr that your burr tool gets stuck, switch to an angle grinder. Another thing that also can be helpful are wire wheels. Wire wheels can be pretty good for deburr work. I try to avoid, for something like this, I avoid stones, because stones will dig in really bad, whereas an old wire wheel or old flap disc, like any of these, those won't dig in so bad. They'll be a lot nicer, a lot softer. So we'll get the rest of these deburred, move on. Well, that job is done and it's back to the customer now. And one more thing before, well, a couple more things before I end this video. When keying shaft, there's a couple of different factors that you really want to take into consideration if you want to be quick. I think the biggest change for me, as far as going from being very slow to being very fast, is going from dull cutters and bent arbors to straight arbors and sharp cutters, and having good tooling. I'd say good tooling is more important than the machine, I would say. I have done keyed shaft at 60 to 90 inches a minute on worn out machines. I've used really nice machines, and keyed shaft took me forever. And the difference was tooling. Now, if you're going to do a lot of keyed shaft, I would recommend staying away from high-speed steel. My recommendation would be Kennametal slotting, or, well, not just Kennametal. There's a couple of different brands that make these, but a carbide insert slotting cutter. This here is set up for 3/8. I need to get my TIG set up going and get those out, and I really wish I had the inserts for this. When I say get those out, I mean get these inserts out. The tools are broken off in there. I really wish I had the inserts for this and I had an arbor for this. That would have made this job so much easier, because with carbide you can run these fast enough that you cannot use coolant with them. If you use coolant with them, you'll crack the inserts, and then you don't have to deal with all of the oil. So if you're looking at doing keyed shaft quickly, I would say run with carbide, a horizontal milling machine, get something with, don't get an old like a 2H or an H model, get a K model, K&T, because they can go up to 90 inches a minute, or something, if you can find it, that goes even faster. Good supports on both ends of the bar are absolutely paramount. These I bought just to make the job go easier. I'd like to make proper supports. They worked. These are just cheap Home Depot rollers. They did their job, but this one over here especially, a little bit worse for wear. About broke this piece off, and it's a little floppy, but it did its job. It did hold. I did put 5 bars of 1 7/16 on a cheap Home Depot roller, so kind of my fault. I'm not blaming these. If you were doing 2-inch bar, make some heavy duty custom rollers, secure them to the floor if you can. So, and then get a good shop vac so you can just vacuum up all the chips. This isn't all of them. This shop vac here, this 5-gallon shop vac is full of chips from this job. So with all that being said, please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'm going to get on with some other jobs I've got, and have a fantastic day.